Welcome back, guys, and today we are checking out another SCP video. Today it's going to be SCP-2966 InfiniTP. Alright, infinite toilet paper? That's what I'm getting out of the name here? Okay. Whatever. We've been doing some more of the mind-melting kind of SCPs recently, so today we're going to pull it back just a little bit and get into something a little bit more not so abstract, if you will. So this video comes to you via commenter suggestion, so thank you very much for that. Let's go ahead and get into it and find out what the InfiniTP is, our thermodynamic SCP. (2966) by the Vulcan.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-2966. Object Class: Keter.
Keter?
Special Containment
For
Procedures.
a roll of toilet paper?
SCP-2966 is to be contained at Outpost 117, and at no time shall any other SCP objects be contained with it. A liquid fluoride thorium reactor is to be powered at all times, with the heat exchange directly in thermodynamic contact with SCP-2966.
What? I'm not even 60 seconds into this, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So this thing gets its own containment area, right, where no other SCPs are kept, and it's immediately adjacent to a reactor? What?
Is housing. Before usage of SCP-2966, monitors will ensure that there are at least 2.04 times 10 to the power of 17 joules of heat energy available to thermodynamically transfer into SCP-2966's housing. During use, this heat energy transfer will be carefully monitored to match the rate of matter removal.
If I'm hearing this correctly right now, there's a roll of toilet paper that is essentially attached to a reactor, and all of that thermal energy is being rerouted into the toilet paper, and they have to make sure that it's being provided with an immense, and I mean an immense amount of heat in order to remove toilet paper from this thing. That leads me to believe that this SCP toilet paper is converting thermal energy into physical matter. Okay, that's crazy. Let's see where it goes.
A skeleton crew shall occupy Outpost 117 to minimize the risk of casualties. This crew shall consist of 3 persons trained in the maintenance and upkeep of a liquid fluoride thorium reactor, 4 research personnel to monitor both SCP-2966's state and the state of the reactor, 2 4-man squads of security personnel to patrol a 25-kilometer perimeter around Outpost 117.
25-kilometer perimeter for this toilet paper. Oh man, okay. It's some weird toilet paper.
Location and deter civilian entrance, and 1 D-Class personnel to use SCP-2966.
1 D-Class personnel.
A D-Class shall use SCP-2966 3 times per day at 8-hour intervals, 0800, 1600, 2400, where use is defined as the removal of at least 10 sheets from SCP-2966. Use is to be heavily monitored, and contact shall be kept with the D-Class subject at all times during said use, in order to modulate the speed with which SCP-2966 is used. A regulator placed on the reactor shall accordingly adjust energy output to match inevitable changes in the rate at which SCP-2966 is used. A scale attached to SCP-2966's housing shall determine its mass at all times and relay said information to monitoring staff. Construction of an airstrip for jet aircraft is currently under.
So I see that, I mean, clearly this is taking thermal energy from the reactor and using it to create mass, right? Which, there's got to be something else here, right? Like, is this toilet paper explosive? Is it radioactive? I mean, there's got to be something else here with it. There's a lot of protection involved. I mean,
undergoing evaluation as a possible means of escape should SCP-2966 reach the critical stage, as well as a means for connection to larger adjacent Foundation sites. Description: SCP-2966 is an anomalous roll of brand toilet paper. The roll currently averages a mass of around kilograms, though attempting to reduce this mass is discouraged as a result of Incident 2966-35-A. Toilet paper sheets removed from SCP-2966 are, beyond being incredibly effective at removing stray fecal matter, non-anomalous and energetically stable. The roll section of SCP-2966 is housed in a steel container attached to a wall mounting which has no means for accessing the roll for replacement or removal. Non-invasive testing of the housing has not yet yielded a clear picture of what is inside the housing, and invasive testing is discouraged due to SCP-2966's volatile nature. In addition, the housing serves as the main heat sink for the thermal transfer between SCP-2966 and the reactor. Damaging the thermodynamic connection may result in SCP-2966 going critical.
so they said that the toilet paper, the actual toilet paper itself, is just regular toilet paper. Does the job that toilet paper was created to do. And it said it was energetically stable, meaning it's not, you're not going to rip off one of these squares and it's going to explode. However, there is a massive transfer of heat and energy from the reactor to the containment device for the toilet paper, and that could still potentially cause a catastrophic event. If the toilet paper is the reactor's main source of heat dispersion, then removing the toilet paper dispenser could cause the reactor itself to go critical and melt down. So I still don't know if the toilet paper is the danger or the reactor is the danger. So let's keep going.
SCP-2966 is anomalous in that it is effectively an infinite roll of toilet paper. Since containment started in approximately kilometers of toilet paper has been removed from SCP-2966. No means of inputting mass or more toilet paper have been observed, and testing has revealed no temporal retrieval of additional paper from a different location or dimension. The mechanism by which SCP-2966 accomplishes this is entirely unknown, though its effects are well understood. SCP-2966 obeys the laws of mass energy conservation, and through unknown means absorbs energy from its surroundings in order to create the matter that makes up the toilet paper. One sheet of SCP-2966 weighs approximately 3 grams, which means that approximately 2.04 times 10 to the power of 16 joules of energy, or roughly 65 tons of TNT, is needed for one sheet of SCP-2966 to be produced. It is estimated that there are sheets formed within the roll of SCP-2966, or a yield of the megatons of TNT.
Okay, so yes, the toilet paper itself, the actual paper, is non-anomalous. The anomalous thing about this SCP is that it creates the toilet paper infinitely, but in doing so, it takes massive, absolutely massive amounts of energy in order to, and it seems like thermal energy is the key here, massive amounts of thermal energy in order to essentially convert energy into matter. That's what this housing seems to do. It takes thermal energy and transfers it into physical mass, which is impressive. However, it would be more impressive if it actually created something besides toilet paper, but hey, who am I to judge?
More than 10 sheets are removed at one time from SCP-2966. It will absorb the energy around it at roughly the rate at which sheets are removed. The form of energy absorbed is most often heat energy, though SCP-2966 does not appear to have a preference. Testing has shown that ambient sound energy has also been decreased during use. Without an external source of energy to provide power to SCP-2966, the large amount of energy needed to form one sheet, 2.04 times 10 to the power of 16 joules, is absorbed from the ambient heat of the surroundings, quickly bringing the temperature of all matter within a radius of meters to near absolute zero. This has happened twice during power failures. Both times, on-site staff have sacrificed themselves to remove 10 sheets.
It takes any thermal energy around it. So if it's not attached to something like this reactor where it can draw upon massive amounts of thermal energy, then it apparently just pulls the energy from the surrounding environment. With the amount of energy required to make one sheet of paper, yeah. If it's pulling that kind of essentially kinetic energy out of the air, it's gonna freeze everything in its vicinity, like everything. Like, no wonder it's got a 25 mile or 25 kilometer radius around it, because the amount of thermal energy or kinetic energy needed in order to make one sheet of toilet paper could kill everything in that area if it just drawed the thermal energy just straight out of the air. I mean, humans would die instantly, animals would die instantly, plants would be frozen solid instantly. Like, it'd be crazy.
Killing themselves through hypothermia instantly. While not a sustainable containment solution, such a sacrifice has prevented SCP-2966 from going critical. If SCP-2966 is not used, it will begin to lose the matter it has gained, turned into energy once more at a rate given as E.
Oh, so no wonder they're continuously taking toilet paper out of it 3 times a day. Because I guess if the roll is full and it's still trying to pull energy in, it'll turn that matter back into energy. And if it releases the energy at the same rate that it takes to create one of these sheets, it's going to release massive amounts of energy, presumably heat energy. Oh man, so this can actually go either way, presumably, right? If it takes too much thermal energy out of the atmosphere, it could instantly flash freeze everything around it. And on the flip side of that, if toilet paper isn't taken out of it, it's going to release that same amount of energy, except this time in the form of heat. So this SCP could potentially kill a ton of people by freezing them or by incinerating them. That's crazy.
N joules per second, where N is the number of minutes since last use. This energy is radiated away in the form of heat, and occasionally alpha particles. The optimum balance between usage and radiation has been determined to be slightly more than 8 hours, reflected in the special containment procedures. As this rate increases exponentially, SCP-2966 will reach a critical stage approximately hours after last use, in which the rate of energy radiation will rapidly approach infinity. Effectively, this results in SCP-2966 converting its remaining mass entirely to energy in an instant. This is estimated to produce roughly 1 times 10 to the power of joules of energy, or an explosion with a yield of megatons. Despite Outpost 117's remote location, a fully critical SCP-2966 situation is estimated to produce casualties in excess of what the Foundation is equipped to handle.
I was thinking that it would, if the roll is full, I was thinking that it would get rid of 1 sheet at a time to release that energy. even one sheet at a time, it would be enough to destroy the entire facility. But if we're talking about the entire roll being released at the same time, I mean, like you're looking at something that's bigger than a thermonuclear bomb, essentially, or generally around the equivalent of a thermonuclear bomb. Like, I mean, that's basically what this is. This is a toilet paper that's a thermonuclear bomb.
During usage of SCP-2966, D-Class subjects have reported an occasional decrease in room temperature. D-Class have also reported that the paper removed from SCP-2966 is exceptionally comfortable, effective, and strong. Requests for sheets removed from SCP-2966 to be re-rolled and used at Foundation facilities have been denied.
I'm assuming since the toilet paper itself is actually non-anomalous, that they probably just discard it. I suppose you could re-roll it and reuse it since it's not, or at least it shouldn't be dangerous, but yeah, I'm sure the Foundation has their reasons.
2966 Recovery Log. SCP-2966 was discovered after Foundation agents noticed an anomalous temperature drop in CA from data recorded by the National Weather Service. A subsequent investigation by Mobile Task Force Theta-19, Rocketeers, revealed that one Pine Range research had been frozen over in an area of about 1 kilometer square, despite it being a warm summer day. Data returned by MTF Theta-19 indicates that the temperature of the area had been approximately minus 108 degrees Celsius, far lower than any temperature naturally recorded on Earth. As to why the area was not absolute zero, research has suggested that the usage of SCP-2966 had occurred several hours earlier, in which the sun had time to warm the area.
Yeah. I mean, this is... I mean, guys, for being a ridiculous SCP about infinite toilet paper, this is actually pretty interesting as far as energy converting to matter, matter converting to energy, the thermodynamic relationship between keeping the roll full, taking sheets out of the roll, how it's capable of absorbing like massive, and I mean massive amounts of energy. Like, it's wild.
MTF Theta-19 breached the building and found that all present in the building had been killed as a result of the temperature drop. A researcher later identified as Dr. was discovered after apparently giving a demonstration to several others holding SCP-2966. The effects of SCP-2966 rendered all electronics within the site corrupted. Thus, no data could be obtained as to how SCP-2966 was created. However, MTF Theta-19...
That's interesting. It corrupted all of the electronics. Typically, a flash freeze like that, I don't think would necessarily destroy your electronics. I mean, yeah, a lot of them would be damaged due to the extreme cold, but I don't know if it would destroy everything. I mean, it's not an electromagnetic pulse, it's simply a rapid temperature drop, and some of this stuff had to have at least been thermally shielded in some capacity. So, I mean, okay.
Team did discover a handwritten journal belonging to Dr. in his office. And while the pages were covered in frost, parts of the journal were recovered and able to be read. See document 2966-01. Several locals had noticed the rapid temperature drop. A cover story of a ruptured liquid nitrogen tank was disseminated, and Class A amnestics administered. SCP-2966 was studied in situ in the following hours after a secure perimeter had been established, its properties determined, and successfully contained. Document 2966-01. Today we have achieved a breakthrough in toilet paper technology. Not a single man will need to feel the burning pain of an uncleaned nether region ever again.
This guy's excited,
this will likely
yeah.
make me exceedingly rich once we figure out how to make other paper products, like tissues, and maybe even plates.
Ooh, yeah.
A minor setback has occurred with the InfiniTP project. We can't produce cellulose fibers fast enough to make a truly infinite roll. A possible solution is the liberal application of halved hafnium, otherwise known as quaternium. While exceedingly rare and expensive, sacrifices must be made in the pursuit of science.
Just throw some unobtainium in there, right? Or some hard-to-getium.
While the others call me a fool, I think that in this day and age, anyone with a doctorate should be able to understand others' work, even if it's in a different branch. That's just good science. If you can write well enough for the layman to understand, who cares if I'm a botanist? I should be able to decipher Dr. paper on quaternium. Note, no such element known as quaternium exists.
Okay, so it is an unobtainium type kind of MacGuffin type deal.
The housing is complete. We've added the initial paper, and soon, the quaternium alloy will be complete for insertion into the hyperbaric containment field. Of course, the yacht arrays have proven themselves to be an issue, but they shouldn't terribly hamper the production of the fermium pairs. Note, the rest of the entry is illegible. It appears that the threshold energy for the fermium pair production is slightly higher than my calculations suggest. No matter. I'll just rework the calculations with Fermi estimation, and that should put us in a good place to test tomorrow. Soon, the world will never need toilet paper again. Note, after this entry are several partially legible equations solved by hand. Thorough hand calculations were done by Foundation physicists with the same constants, which revealed that Dr. apparently misplaced the square in E equals mc squared early in his work. This led to substantially lower energies than in reality, possibly reinforcing Dr. idea that he could create matter from energy safely.
Well, I mean, the theory's been proven already. The existence of the infinite TP is proof that, at least in this world, you can, in fact, create matter from energy. They just have no idea how it functions.
Incident 2966 35A.
Also, getting something like not placing the square of something correctly in a math equation, especially early on in the math equation, math compounds on itself, guys. It builds upon its previous concepts. So, and that extrapolates out when you're doing like a big calculation. If you get 1 decimal point wrong in the beginning, the number you get at the end could be way, way off from what it's supposed to be. So, I mean, yeah, you could definitely screw some up with just a small mathematical error.
On test 2966 35A was conducted, an attempt to see if a reduction in mass could be achieved by rapid removal of SCP-2966 sheets while supplying an excess of energy. This resulted in SCP-2966 immediately going critical. The subsequent energy release times 10 to the power joules destroyed Outpost 117 and resulted in casualties. Due to Outpost 117's remote location, no non-Foundation casualties were reported. SCP-2966 was recovered unharmed and weighed grams less.
And it's also apparently completely immune to its own effects. So even though it released, a nuclear bomb's worth of energy and incinerated everyone, and when I say nuclear bomb's worth of energy, I mean like it's a massive output of energy, but it's not nuclear. I should clarify that. It's not nuclear radiation. They're not getting bombarded with like X-rays and gamma rays or anything like that. But it's like a nuke in the fact that it's just a massive explosion. And in this case, rather than splitting an atom to create such a reaction, in this case, it's the transfer of energy into mass that makes this dangerous. So this thing can apparently be exposed to as much heat, presumably maybe even kinetic energy, since sound waves also happen to fuel this particular SCP, and all sound waves are is vibrations. All vibrations are kinetic energy, so presumably kinetic energy would also work to fuel this. For a roll of toilet paper, this is definitely the most interesting roll of toilet paper I've ever seen in my life.
Outpost 117 has since been rebuilt and containment reestablished. Indestructible lizards, living masks, skinny dudes who don't like their faces looked at, the weirdest shit you could possibly imagine.
This is the SCP
and I'm
universe.
doing a lecture on infinity toilet paper. I love my job sometimes. Anyway, I think that about does it for today. Thank you all for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed.
Well, guys, the InfiniTP, that's definitely an interesting one. I actually kind of like it because somebody out there took something so mundane, so everyday, something that we overlook on a daily basis, and they turned it into an interesting SCP. The only questions I really have about it are like, who made it? Where did it come from? I mean, obviously this thing couldn't have existed, forever. It said it was a brand of existing toilet paper, so it has to be a much more recent creation. So whoever created this, or whoever created the article, good job, man. For an SCP article on some toilet paper, this was actually enjoyable, man. It was interesting to learn about how it all works together, how it thermodynamically takes energy and releases energy. It's definitely an interesting one. So thank you guys for any of you guys who suggested this one, but I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. If you did, please like and subscribe. As always, feel free to leave a comment down below to let me know what other SCPs we should check out, or what other videos in general we should check out. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching the video. Take care of yourselves and have a great day.